Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to come on a few days ago. I got this theme in mind of something I wanted to discuss, which is time loops and tunnel vision. And then this whole Mars square Saturn thing happened yesterday. And then that brought up a lot of really intense energy. I feel like it's that continuation of the theme where we're moving from water to fire, and it's like resistance training, and we're having to combine two different elements that really don't go well together, right? Because fire just burns up the water and turns it into steam, and evaporates it. And it's kind of like this corridor. Yesterday was like really, really everyone around me was feeling it. I was feeling it. And today there's like a liberation. I just find it's a lot of highs and lows. I don't know about you guys, but it's like the energy just activates. I feel that fire energy come in, the chariot come in, and it's like, it elevates, 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 and then the water will come crashing back in, and then the fire and the water. So it's been really interesting, and we're still in that corridor now where we're birthing something new. So it kind of reminds me, it's like that childbirth energy. And we're all feeling it in different areas and aspects of our lives. So I've been doing a lot of readings for people for their transits. People are trying to figure out, what houses are being activated for them. And it's been pretty on point. So I was thinking about putting together like a general reading on all signs, trying to, be a little detective and figure out what is being birthed for each rising sign. So that is an interesting project that I've kind of had on the go. I'm not sure if I'm going to post it yet, but today I want to talk about tunnel vision uh, and time loops. So when I was going through my awakening, I've had many of them starting from a very young age, but the most significant one was in that window before 2020, starting around 2012, leading up to 2020. Very intense, a lot of lessons, lifetimes of lessons. And one of them was about tunnel vision and time loops. I want to talk about the time loops first, though, because the time loops are the hardest. Tunnel vision is equally as hard. I don't think one is more difficult to or more challenging to move through than the other. But think of your favorite time loop movie and just insert that clip into your mind right now. It's that person waking up over and over and over into the same scenario, and then having to figure out how to get out of that time loop. And usually, time loops are invoked because of trauma. So it's when a lot to do with expectations, and when expectations aren't met, and there was like a lot of energy put behind those expectations, or a sudden shock that throws someone into a PTSD mode, can experience a time loop, and they kind of stay stuck in that because their mind is trying to process it, right? So that's why we have, reoccurring dreams, or people working through different issues, whether it's conditioning, childhood trauma, events that have happened. It's like the thoughts will keep on coming back up until they've been healed, right? Until we've had enough clarity around them to move forward. And so when you're in a time loop, it could actually, I think it's one of the worst places to be in, because the mind is just becomes obsessed over this thing, and it needs to figure it out to heal it. And so I want to bring that wisdom forth, because I know that everybody's moving through different things at different times, and sharing this knowledge. I gain lots by listening to other people sharing their knowledge and things that they've gone through, what they've learned in the lessons. And then that comes in handy when I'm going through something. And so part of giving back is to share some of the knowledge that I've gained through these experiences. So what I found is that the best way, and I was stuck in a time loop for about 2 years, like a hardcore time loop. And the more you stay stuck in specific thought forms, they actually grow into egregors, and then they start attracting similar frequencies, similar energies, similar spirits, right? And so it becomes this whole vortex. And so that's what people need to understand. But it's difficult to get out of the time loop. Um, and that's why essentially they say, people become the monster that they're fighting, because it's really easy to, when you're in a time loop, and you're trying to process those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you're interacting within yourself, you're processing negative emotions based off of a traumatic experience or a shock. And then because you go over it and over it in your mind, you end up attracting those very same energies to you repetitively, right? So they kind of double down, the energy double downs on you. And then you end up having these negative experiences, and it just kind of proliferates the whole thing, right? And it keeps it perpetuates it. And so coming out of a time loop requires um, an equal or greater force to the initial thing that put you in the time loop. So instead of if a shock of a situation put you into that time loop and your mind starts processing why that happened, how that happened, and the feelings that it made you feel, and you start digging a hole in a vortex, creating a vortex, the egregors, the spirits, the thoughts that it keeps on perpetuating. You need something that is equal or greater in shock in the opposite direction. So catharsis is a huge tool for getting out of time loops. And catharsis is doing something where you can really shake your energy out of its normal flow. So, going and doing something that you normally wouldn't do, and something that feels liberating, right? You can have something as drastic as like going skydiving, which I've done, and it really shakes you out of your core. You can also, just sing, dance, move, jump around and be weird, in your house alone. Just shake the energy off. Go experience some sort of, within a safe container, but some sort of workshop, breath work. Breath work is huge, 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 but it connects to the body. I find time loops are really connected to the somatic, memory within the person, because when that shock happens, the mind can't really process it. So the body sort of absorbs it in, and it's kind of stays stuck, in the body. And that's why when animals go through any sort of trauma, they shake afterwards, right? It's a thing that they do, and they're shaking. The body is shaking off that um, residual stuff that's stuck in the nervous system, right? So it doesn't get blocked. And so humans really need to use these tools. You can go into your car if you have a vehicle, you can yell, you could scream, where you're not being heard. If you don't have a vehicle, you can go into your room. I did Primal Scream with Alan Cooper back in the day, and that was like fabulous. That really, actually, that was a turning point for me to get out of a time loop. I still have an interview that should be up with him on an Inspiring Playful Evolutions channel on YouTube, that I haven't put anything up on for a while as I move forward and continue to, evolve in other directions. But that interview is still there. And so that was pivotal. And basically, you're lying on a bed, you get the pillows ready, you have pillows, you're on the bed, you're protected, and you basically start moving, and you start slowly moving your legs, similar to the therapy. I think it's called what is it? It's no, it's not coming to me. Is it REM? It's basically when you start, slowly shaking your legs and your arms, and then you progress it with the breath. And it's best, if you could do it with someone who is specialized in that, that's even better. You will really, really, really benefit from that. The stuff that comes out is just like, wow, that was in there. And so it's things like that that we need to do when we're in a time loop. And so we have time loops that arrive from shock and big traumatic events. Could be a car accident, right? The loss of someone when you weren't expecting it. But then you can have time loops from betrayal. You can have time loops from heartbreak, right? From unrequited love. You can have time loops that date all the way back to events that happened in childhood before you were at an age where you could properly process, what was going on. Anything violent, any sort of sexual trauma, like all of that can stay stuck in the body and create these time loops that are like veils of illusion, right? A conditioning over the thought processes of the person. So it's very difficult to reach clarity. And so, of course, a big part of this is the heart. And when we go through a traumatic event of any kind, there's a big potential for the heart to close. And so, if the heart closes, it's really difficult for the heart to communicate properly with the mind in order to help the person mentally work out what happened. Because forgiveness does play a huge role in all of it. Forgiveness can't be forced. Forgiveness, shouldn't be done in a way where you're negating the self or, it can't be forgiveness. You can't pretend to forgive, right? It's really these layers that we have to go through on a mental level where we slowly begin to expand our mind. And now we're breaching into what I would call a tunnel vision, where we slowly expand our minds to the point where we can see multiple perspectives at the same time regarding a traumatic event, right? If we branch out far enough, we get into that oneness, right? But we're here as unique individuals and we're living out our unique paths. So it's, we're meant to be held in this container of self, which is individual and separate from the other. So this is why tunnel vision happens, because we are uniquely designed. We're all uniquely designed, and we have all these layers of experience, layers of conditioning, and layers of self that create, again, these veils of illusion around understanding what the heck is going on, right? With other people, with interactions, with events. And so the tunnel vision, it's like the tunnel vision is an elastic, right? That's really tight and held really tightly around the mind. It's like an echo chamber. It's the development of self. So it's not a bad thing. It's meant to assist us in defining who we are, right? As we individuate. But in situations where we're dealing with tunnel vision and with time loops, the tunnel vision really, really, really reinforces that, right? And it makes it difficult to get out of the time loop. So it's an elastic and it needs to be stretched, right? If you stretch it too much, it never goes back, right? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Okay, so I've been through that, and I equate that to, in a sense, eating the apple. Okay, I'm not going to go down there, but basically there's there's a simile there. But it needs to be stretched enough that you can then begin to perceive the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the people around you. It's basically like empathy, right? Can you put yourself in someone else's shoes? When you're in a time loop, right, and you have tunnel vision, the reason why you're stuck in that tunnel vision is because you can't see, for example, it's difficult to know, okay, this bad thing happened to me. How is it going to be a good thing, right? How can I cognitively reframe this so that it's a good thing and I can move forward? And by gaining all these different perspectives of the different people involved, or different scenarios of how it can all work out, we stretch our mind's capacity to a different way of seeing it. And by stretching our mind's capacity and seeing all these different perspectives, there's like a relief that can be involved. It's either like a forgiveness, right, for the self, because that's the first layer of forgiveness, is like forgiving the self, right? A lot of times it boils down to that. And then also, it's the understanding. We want to understand why things happen. And then it could be forgiveness of the people involved. And then ultimately, forgiveness of the higher forces, right? Because it's like, why are we suffering? Why am I suffering? Why did God do this, right? We hear that often, people going through these existential crises. Well, the universe doesn't differentiate between good and bad, and it's really up to us to carve the path, right? And the suffering is the chisel on that rock, creating the gem. So, analyzing every aspect. Like if you're in a time loop, you're wasting your time anyway, right? You're stuck in a time loop. So I invite you to take that time if you are going through this and just analyzing, writing down if you can, writing all the different perspectives, right? All the different possibilities around that event, or around, that interaction, or whatever happened. And by doing that, you open up the space. And that's what starts the spiral of forgiveness, because it starts with the self betrayal of holding yourself in a time loop, right? Because there's a lot of like, why did I allow myself to get, to waste so much time? Or there's often a feeling of loss, like, time's been lost. But we are here learning as much about who we are not and what we are not, as we are about discovering who we are, and what we ultimately wish to share with the world. So it's a part of the whole process. So there's no wasting time, you know? There's only an evolution and a spiraling. And every time we spiral around to the same spot, more likely than not, I've learned this with astrology, we're going to hit a similar experience, a similar event, in lesser and lesser and lesser degrees, right? Sometimes it could be more. There's definitely periods in our lives where spiritual initiations come in, and those are the really the moments where we experience the most intense version of that of that point in time, that kind of nodule on the map, on the spiral, that is meant to teach us something. But each time we go over that nodule, we get better and better with in dealing with things. And so we're more equipped each time. We have better tools. And each time we expand our minds, uh, it's it's no longer possible to be in tunnel vision, and it's less and less likely to fall back into a time loop. So those are kind of the two things that I wanted to bring forward and share, sort of as like a Wisdom Wednesday, but it's Tuesday, and and I know that a lot's coming up for people. And I feel like, everybody sharing some of their experience can help someone else. So we have catharsis, just get moving, right? Get out of the stagnation, get out of the entropy, because a time loop is like entropy. It's like you're getting sucked into a time warp, right? And so get out of that. And through catharsis, through all those means that I talked about, and just doing things differently, right? If you're used to doing things one way, like drive to work. If you have limited capacity to change the things, like drive to work another way than you normally drive to work. And while you're at it, sing or yell and scream, right? Take that time for yourself. right? Because if you just go on automatic and project it on everybody else around you, you're still going to be in the time loop, in the tunnel vision. In order to really break that energy up, the work needs to be done internally, right, for yourself. Um, and so, yeah, the cathartic part is super important. And I think as we're moving from this water to fire and we're birthing something new, there's a new paradigm coming in society right now, that's being birthed. We need as many tools as we can have, right? Because stuff does come up. So doing the cathartic work, not projecting it out, and having compassion for the self, right? Doing that reparenting if you have to, if it's childhood stuff, just being, I'm feeling like what's been coming in, especially recently with this Mars square Saturn, is acceptance of the suffering. So I've always had an appreciation for stoicism. It's like you don't want to go towards apathy. You don't want to bypass everything and not do the internal work. So there's this kind of like middle ground where you really set time aside for yourself to process things, right? That's self-love. Like schedule yourself into your schedule, your daily schedule to do this work. So you know you have a release at one point where you can go and fucking yell in the car, right? Or you can go out and, do these things to get the energy flowing again. And it's also for birthing new projects, right? I've had a lot of messages come in recently, especially with dreams and then certain feedback. If we're birthing something new, right, this metaphorical child, we can't birth it and not take care of it, right? If you don't, the baby needs sustenance. The baby, you need to care for the baby once the baby's born, right? Or else it doesn't survive, especially for the first like 3, 4 years, right? So any projects that we're birthing right now for society, in society, for ourselves, right, for personal development, require care, require nurturance, and we have to schedule that into our schedules to be able to provide that, because no one else is going to do it for you if it's your project and it's your baby, right? It's your body, it's yourself. No one's going to do the internal work for you. You have to do it for yourself. And so schedule that time for yourself. And slowly, what's going to happen as you work through that, the tunnel vision is going to start expanding. The aperture is going to start expanding to encompass more. And the key at that point is to stay grounded in your specific signature frequency. Because the more perspectives you take in, the more understanding you are of all these different perspectives, and everybody's having their unique subjective experiences to learn specific lessons, but you can't get lost in that, right? So depending what kind of influences you have, and again, through astrology, I really look at that stuff. You have to stay centered in your core signature frequency. So make sure that you're always coming back to that. Know what your frequency feels like, right? If you're open to energy, you can feel other people. Like I could feel other people thinking of me. If they're thinking of me, I know especially if I know their signature frequency, right? You can feel someone's energy. So get to know your own frequency. And by knowing your own frequency, you can begin to expand to encompass all of these other perspectives of people's subjective worlds and realities and realms, while coming back to your own and knowing your own. And I think that just allows a person to strengthen, right? To keep a healthy aura, like good spiritual hygiene, at the same time as holding space for everything else moving around you, because we want to be the eye of the storm. If we have tunnel vision, we become the storm, we become the chaos. If we if we don't have tunnel vision, we expand just enough to encompass those perspectives around us and stay grounded, we become the eye of the storm. So, what's being required of us as we move through this paradigm shift is, doing the cathartic work, releasing all of the conditioning, but really, I like the idea of time loops because that's what they are. There's like the record player playing over the same record. And slowly we get into this like Jedi mode. You know, people that I'm talking to my friends and people calling me these days because it is intense energies that we're going through. And it's just like, no, just stay grounded and go into Jedi mode. You know, Jedi mode is like, do the inner work, don't project it out onto anybody. And then every day it gets renewed, right? Because these highs and lows, water and fire, water and fire. And soon that, is going to, the horse energy is coming in at the end of February. We're going from snake to horse. This is a 9 year and that's a 1 year. So we're at the end of everything and the horse is going to take off. The chariot is taking off. So we have to do this last little bit of work. So hopefully this helps, anybody who has experienced tunnel vision or time loops or, will experience them. It's all about processing. It's all good. It's really difficult when you are in it. The only way out is to shake yourself out of that vortex and to provide love and compassion, which creates the basis and the foundation for forgiveness of self and others. And the body needs to heal. We need time to let the body heal because the mind can heal, but then the body has to heal. But they work in tandem, right? So with the breath aligns the mind. When the mind's aligned, it starts aligning the body, and then everything starts flowing. So we're just moving through this resistance training right now. And it's all good, right? Just breathe through the lows and take action and start applying these things. And the tunnel vision will expand. And then eventually we get to that place where, it is Jedi. It is a rising above all of the chaos. We're still a part of the world. We still want to partake in solutions. We still want to participate, but we don't have to get carried away by, the tidal waves or all of the hurricanes and the storms. So it just allows us to rise above and to become more of an observer, to feel, to accept what's moving through, and then to take action in the right direction to process that stuff. So I hope you guys are all doing well. And I wish you all a great December. I might be back on. If you have watched this till the end and you think I should put out an astrology video for all signs on what everybody is birthing into this next year, then let me know. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to these things. I do stuff slowly and it's like I don't know how people do the charts. Everyone's using AI now and it does save a tremendous amount of time, but I've really been in resistance to that. But that's a topic for another discussion. I hope you're all doing well. Take care.